Whoever comes is welcome to come. The open forum I love. If you've joined my previous open forum, I sort of look at it like a kiddish. You can come, have your question answered and leave. You can come and have your question answered and listen to other people's questions and learn something more. We try to create this forum really as a come and go, come and stay, so that you can learn more. I'd like to think that many of you attended different seminars prior to your arrival to help you prepare with information. But as you know, things can look so different once you're here. As I mentioned earlier, I am first going to answer those questions that came in that don't have to do with Bituach Leumi, just in case there are those people who are not as interested in the spotlighted information and would like to have their questions answered. So somebody asked about getting a driver's license and difficulty that they were having in getting their driver's license. As you may already know, a person can convert their foreign valid license within 5 years of their date of Aliyah. Your date of Aliyah is the date of your arrival. That is the day that all of your rights and benefits are activated from. Although you have 5 years to convert your license, you only have 1 year to actively drive on your foreign license. However, that year is not only necessarily from the date of Aliyah, rather it is from the last date you were in Israel within the past year. What does that mean? It means that if you arrived in March 1st and last June you had the opportunity to be in Israel, you've been in Israel in this past year's time, and therefore you would only have until June to actively drive on your foreign license. This is very important for insurance purposes, not so much to have a license or not to have a license, but for insurance purposes. That being said, if you have already begun the driver's license process, you will already know that there is a self-health form that you must fill out. This self-health form will ask a lot of different questions. Do you take any medications? Have you had any of the whatever you see there in the past 5 years, or actively have diabetes or cardiological needs or whatever it is, cardiac needs, whatever it might be? And you have to answer truthfully. If that is the case, we encourage you strongly before submitting this health declaration to submit with that health declaration a letter from your Israeli doctor that's saying that you are kashir l'nehiga, that you are okay to drive in spite of whatever healthcare need that you have. That means that you might have diabetes your entire life, you might take insulin or whatever it is, but it doesn't affect your driving. There are other medications and other needs that certainly can affect your driving. Once that has been uploaded, if you still have an automatic response that your paperwork has been sent to the medical desk, please be in touch with us at answers@nbn.org.il or call us at *3680 so that we can then contact the Misrad HaRishui, the Ministry of Transportation, on your behalf. And sometimes we can do so to sort of hurry things along for you. Sometimes we can already fix the problem on the phone. They don't realize that that medication is only for blood pressure or cholesterol or something to that effect. And we can already help you solve that problem. Not in every case. Sometimes there are real instances where a person must present themselves before a medical desk, depending on their medical need.
Miriam? Sorry, go on.
After that, there is a required vision test and picture that you will take at a designated optical store. How can you find out these optical stores? The same place on our website when it comes to converting your driver's license that you'll find on the NBN website. You'll see a listing countrywide of where to go. Why do you need to go to a designated optical store? Because they keep all of the paperwork in a shared database with the Misrad HaRishui. You will then be able to go on to making your appointment at the Misrad HaRishui so that you can literally have your license converted. You'll pay a fee, you'll have a temporary license, and then your formal license will be mailed to you in up to 3 months' time. There's a phone number on your temporary license. If you don't see if your license doesn't arrive within even 2 months' time, call that number. They will tell you in an automated message when it was mailed to you. It might have gotten lost. If that's the case, again, call us so that we can help you solve the problem. Did you want to add something, Tippy?
I just wanted to add a request. So some people are typing in questions in the chat, excuse me, which is fine, but I want to suggest questions about Bituach Leumi. Why don't you, if you agree with me, Miriam, hold off people typing in those questions. Miriam will give her presentation. She might cover those. You won't need to type in the questions. And then questions specifically about Bituach Leumi, you can type in after her presentation. I would suggest questions not dealing with Bituach Leumi, seniors disability, wait until the presentation. What do you think, Miriam?
Yeah, I had said that in the beginning.
Okay, so I've got to, sorry, so I'm reminding everybody of that. Okay.
Excellent. Somebody asked about a living will. This is a great question. A living will is a will that is a legal binding document designating your wishes to a person or to an individual of how you would like your medical care to be managed if you are unable to be responsible to make those decisions for yourself. I would like to expand not only about getting a living will, but also in general about having a will. Many people assume that their foreign will be able to be probated in Israel, and it would not be, just like my Israeli will would not be able to be probated in the US. It is important to have an Israeli will, even if you were to say that, oh, all of my assets are abroad, I really have nothing here. That's not the point. The point is that whatever you have here is in a legal document stating whatever wishes that you have. So for both the living will, you can find out some great information in English on the Kol Zchut site. If you could put that up, Tippy or Yitz. I actually had the direct link, so I'm sorry.
It's up there.
Oh, excellent.
I told you, Mary.
As well as on the Nefesh B'Nefesh website. Now, I know that it's not as recent. It's from pre-corona, where we had a recorded session on the importance of getting an Israeli will and different types of wills that they have in Israel. Some people want to know about power of attorney. Perhaps you'd like to give an adult child power of attorney on your bank account. There are two types of power of attorney. There's power of attorney as we know it. For example, I had power of attorney on my dad's bank account and I could manage his banking needs once he opened the account on his own. You can't have power of attorney to open up an account for someone else. There's also something called durable power of attorney. And durable power of attorney is a broader spectrum of services that gives one power for. It allows one to have different types of decision-making processes over another person. This is not guardianship, but it does have a much broader spectrum. Somebody mentioned that it's very frustrating, and I agree, it is frustrating that government agencies might have a menu that says press a particular number for English, and then you do, and you get some recorded message in English, and then when the nice man or woman gets on the phone, English is very far from what they're able to speak. And you're right, that's frustrating, including all the different kupot cholim, all the healthcare providers, all feature an English number. And sometimes you can get someone with a, broken English, very often not. Did you know that Nefesh B'Nefesh has a whole array of volunteers who are available to assist you? Now, they're not your secretaries, but they can help. Sometimes the help is just to understand the Hebrew. For example, if you would like to learn how to make an appointment for yourself on a website of your Kupat Cholim. Sometimes it's just a question of learning how to navigate that system and learning the vocabulary that you need to know. If it's a one-time thing, it might be something that a volunteer can help you with. Again, I want to stress that they're no one's secretary, but they are there to help. Hebrew is the language of the country, not Russian, not Amharic, not French. We're frustrated as English speakers, but other nationalities, those olim, are really just as frustrated. Another question came in about how to manage Kupat Cholim after the first year. So I'm going to hold that question when I talk about Bituach Leumi, because there you may understand better the relationship between one and the other. Another question that came in was about long-term care and private insurance. Long-term care is a law in Israel. It's called Chok Siyud, an elder care law. This elder care law from Bituach Leumi states that everyone is entitled to long-term care based on their income. It has nothing to do with being an Oleh Chadash. It has everything to do with being one's income, with one's income. The article in English on the Bituach Leumi website is excellent. It explains the criteria. It explains different eligibilities. It explains different levels of eligibilities and criteria in order to get services, whether someone is looking for hours of care or whether someone is looking for 24/6-hour care. Care here is not 24/7, it's 24/6. That is a place to begin, because that is what the state will subsidize for. Depending on one's age, a person is assessed based on needs, and then the hours are appropriated, and you have the opportunity to turn to whatever caregiving agency you wish to use those hours for the caregiving need. In addition, you can turn to your Kupat Cholim. Your Kupat Cholim has what's called CUD, Bituach CUD. Bituach means insurance, CUD means elder care. And here there's various criteria necessary in order for you to then activate that policy. You'll pay for that policy till 120. You may lose it, you use it, you may not. Should you not use it, the money just went into an insurance pot, nothing happens to it. Should you use it, you are entitled to 5 years worth of care. Not 5 years and a day, but 5 years worth of care. That 5 years might be monies towards living in a nursing home or in an assisted living facility. It might be for having a caregiver at home to supplement what you can get from Bituach Leumi. Here, there is no financial ceiling, but rather you're paying into a policy. Additionally, you can turn to an insurance agent, the same insurance agent that offers you home insurance and car insurance. And I always mention home insurance because many of you may be renting and you might not think about having home insurance, but having home insurance is really, really important, even if you're renting. That insurance agent can also discuss with you about private health care as well as private long-term care. Again, that will most likely be a 5-year policy for the long-term care. And whereas with healthcare, there's no such thing as a pre-existing condition affecting one's ability to join the program, when it comes to a private long-term care policy, pre-existing conditions do affect. And the policy with the Kupat Cholim is a private policy, as well as through your insurance agent. These are things that we encourage you not only to ask one such insurance agent, but to shop around, see what's covered, see what pricing is like, see how it works for you and what works for you. These cover a lot of the questions that we received that didn't have to do with Bituach Leumi. Tzipi, is there anything that I missed?
Let me look, because I also have this list pulled up. Yeah, somebody asked about, we need help getting our Tudat Zut. Misara Pnim made a mistake with our phone number, didn't have the apartment number, didn't deliver our Tudat, was sent back to sender. If so, I can answer that if you want, Miriam.
Please go ahead.
So anybody who has gone to the Misara and applied for their biometric Tudat Zut, and for whatever reason didn't get it and didn't get a notice to pick it up at what happens is the messenger will go to your house, ring the doorbell, you'll be home, give it to you, great. You're not home, we'll leave a postal card saying go pick it up at the following post office. You can track it using the tracking number. If you miss that for whatever reason, the postcard flies away in the wind, or they didn't have the right apartment number or whatever, don't fret. you can still, if it's not too late, you can track using the tracking number and see, is it in the post office, which post office, and pick it up. But if it's already 2 weeks have passed, it will be returned to the Misrad Pnim, the Minister of Interior, where you applied for the Teudat Zehut. You do not need an appointment to go pick it up. You will go to the Teudat Zehut, to the Misrad Pnim that you applied for the Teudat Zehut. Go there during the morning reception hours. Explain to the guard that you didn't get it in the mail. You're coming to pick up your Teudat Zehut. You will be allowed in. You'll sit with the clerk. You'll explain. She'll find it for you and give you the Teudat Zehut. Of course, it's good to keep track, and you can keep track with the RR long number X at the end tracking number. But if it happens, don't worry. And that's a classic example of please, there's so many things to be to have that put pressure on you as new olim. If something like that happens and throws you for a loop, just give us a call. We'll be able to guide you exactly what to do. That's not a big problem. It's a little blip that we can help you get over.
Remind me, how long does it take from the time that you apply until you get the notice about? Can you remind me?
I can. We had been saying about 2 to 3 weeks. We did get notice that for various reasons, the Misrad Pnim, it's now taking them longer to do the biometric documentation. That includes the passport, and we're assuming that includes the Teudat Zehut. So I would say 3 to 4 weeks. There's a backlog. It is going to be a sentence that you might be hearing now a lot in the next weeks. For a long time, it was, Corona, a lot of reasons. Corona, things were being held up, things were taking longer. There was hard to find appointments. Now, we still have Corona. We still have a lot of cases every day, but we also have the refugees from the Jewish refugees making Aliyah from the Ukraine. And so things are even slower. We believe that's why things are slower with something like this too. So I'd say 3 to 4 weeks. And again, if you have applied for your Teudat Zehut and you didn't get a notice, call us and we'll help you find. There is on a code sheet that you received when you went to apply. There should be a long number in the middle of it. We have a link, and I can put it in the chat box, how you can track, so you can at least see, has it gone out in the mail yet, or it's not even yet gone out in the mail? Is it waiting for you in the post office? We're happy to help you walk you through that if you need to.
Sometimes people forget that the same office and the same clerks that are processing one thing in Bituach, in Misrad Pnim, are processing for everyone else. It's not, if you've been to the Misrad Pnim in general, they are not largely staffed. They're usually short staffed overall. And the fact that we have the honor of absorbing so many refugees at this time is taking up time from everyone else. And it's just one more point for Am Yisrael Chai. What could I say?
Ma'am, can I just add one thing, ma'am, real quick?
Yeah.
If somebody does go down to their local Misrad Pnim to pick up their Teudat Zehut because they never found it, when you are sitting with the clerk, you should ask them on the spot if they can activate it for you. That will save you a little bit of a headache. You just pick it up and activate it on the spot, and then you walk out with it ready to go.
Thank you. Excellent. Someone has asked about finding English-speaking staff in hospitals and or in nursing homes. It might depend where you live, but you have more possibility of finding staff, broader staff who speak English. I don't have a list at all. I don't think such a list exists. Nursing homes, yes, there are many nursing homes, especially in the Jerusalem or Ra'anana area, that either will have some native English speakers or will certainly have people who are well experienced in dealing with English speaking olim or English speaking residents. That for sure I can say. But when it comes to a hospital, nurses in general will know some English, and if they don't, it's not that hard for them to find someone who does, as well as other medical staff. But it's true. It's not the same as finding your family doctor in the city where you're living and he speaks English and you speak English, and that's great. But you already may know that when you go to the pharmacy, it's going to be in Hebrew, and the nurse and the secretary, it might be in Hebrew. Any other questions, Sippy, that I didn't address? Someone has, one second. Someone has asked about long-term care and from where and the pricing. So again, this is something that you would turn to a private insurance agent. There are several in the country, in the greater Jerusalem area. People are very happy with Eggert and Cohen or Goldfuss. These are two very popular Anglo-friendly insurance agencies. But it's up to you, and network with friends. Really important to network with others.
I would add, and we said it, Nefesh B'Nefesh has the YouTube channel, and there are a couple of webinars about different types of insurances in Israel, done by Goldfuss specifically, that are excellent. So people who have questions, take a little bit of time, just Google YouTube Nefesh B'Nefesh channel, and then you'll see that topic. If you have a problem finding it, send us an email and we'll send you the link. Miriam, there's a question that somebody wrote in the chat specifically to me, but I think it's an important question for everyone. So I'm going to read it and I'll try to answer it, and you could add. How do I get advanced Ulpan? I speak Hebrew, but not well enough to make speeches, relatively speaking. So let's just touch upon Ulpan in general. The official benefit that olim receive is for the first 18 months of your Aliyah, and you're entitled to 2 Ulpan classes. However, for the past number of years, it has there's been a directive that's been updated yearly that has extended the period that you can take Ulpan for free as an Olah up to 10 years. We strongly suggest don't wait 10 years because you want to learn Hebrew now, because it'll make your life that much better in this, or easier, or simpler, or nicer, or more exciting to be able to speak and understand. But that is right now the time frame. You're entitled to 2 Ulpan vouchers, which give you Ulpan for free, although there are, of course, there's conditions to that. One is a public Ulpan, which is the traditional Ulpan run by Misrad HaKlita, and it's 5 days a week for 5 hours a day. In some cities, they have that in the afternoon. In some cities, they have Ulpan that meets 3 times a week. In some, they have that meets 3 times a week for older Olim as well, okay? Depending where you live, you have to find out what's available. You find out what's available through the Misrad HaKlita. Some cities also have higher level Ulpan, advanced, okay? So I'm not sure with the question that was typed in, I'm not clear. Did this person already take an Ulpan, needs a second one, or came here knowing some Hebrew? Those are things to discuss with the Misrad HaKlita representative who gives you that voucher, who will theoretically speak with you in Hebrew, sometimes give an official test, sometimes an unofficial test, to see, do we have an Ulpan, an intensive Ulpan that's your level, okay? The other type of Ulpan you can take is called, it's in jargon known as a private Ulpan. There are quite a number of companies that offer private Ulpan classes that are covered by a Misrad HaKlita voucher. These classes are typically much smaller, I believe 4 to 6 people, less hours per week, flexible with the hours in that sometimes there's afternoon, sometimes morning. I mean, it's a set schedule, but you can try and find one that works for you. They have been also typically virtual, although it's not all of them. Virtual means, especially for somebody who's looking for advanced Ulpan, might be able to find a class, and depending where you live, if you live in a city where there's not a lot of Olim, virtual is great because you can have a class with people from all over the country and get one to your level. Some people don't do good on Zoom learning, so you're going to look for something private, one that is in person, okay? The one thing you need to know, or 2 things you need to know, is if you start a public Ulpan, you must finish it to be eligible. Finishing means not just going to the last day, it means attending 80% of the classes and taking the final exam in order to be eligible to take the second private Ulpan, or vice versa. The caveat, the private Ulpan, you need to pay up front. You get paid back 40% when you begin, 30% at the halfway mark when you have completed 80%, if you've attended 80% of the classes, and you get the last 30% back when you finish the Ulpan and continue to attend 80% of the classes. Again, we're happy to explain more to you if that was too much, too quick. But also you can speak with your Misrad HaKlita representative, who should be able to tell you about the Ulpanim. And I would also say, if you don't know, many cities have municipality coordinators, big cities like Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Haifa, but also many other cities, Beit Shemesh, and they should be very up to date as to what Ulpan classes are offered in your area.
Excellent, Sippy. Actually, you can find a concentrated list of the municipal coordinators on our website. I am afraid to, oh, thank you very much, Yitz, for putting it up there. And if you can't find this later or you forget or whatever, should you just look at the community page of any particular city, you will find there the contact information for a municipal coordinator. I'm ready to move on to Bituach Leumi, unless there are other questions. Now, before I put up my presentation again, a couple of things to everyone listening. Number one, forms can be very confusing. Forms in English can be very confusing, and certainly forms in Hebrew. If you are unsure of why you receive something in the mail, ask. If you are unsure if you're filling it out correctly, ask. If you're unsure of why you didn't get something and everybody else seems to be getting something, ask. There is nothing to lose by asking. In fact, there's almost always something to gain. I'm about to discuss, applying for a senior pension, something that I know people are very, very anxious to hear about. Now, a young man in his mid-80s, we'll call him Joe, that is not his name, is very independent and is very proud of his independence in moving along post Aliyah and lots of different things. And that's great. The only thing is that Joe got the form for a pension and filled it out. It came with his name and he filled it out. And he was very proud of himself that he filled it out. But Joe shouldn't have filled it out without asking us first, because Joe was not going to be eligible for this pension. And there were consequences because of that. I'm going to talk about that very, very soon. But the point is that if you have a form to fill out, regardless of what it is, I mentioned a little bit earlier about our volunteers that now that Corona is, I don't even know what to say, but in a different place than it was a year ago, people may be more willing to come and sit with you hand in hand in your community, certainly over a Zoom, and much more certainly over a phone call. And you also have municipal coordinators. Now, agreed, not every municipal coordinator has the ability to sit with you, but there are so many services. And of course, our team is so happy to help you. We are taking people, walk-ins, we call them, in our office. You're in the area of Cinema City, do walk in. We're happy to help you. Okay, I'm going to try to share my screen again. Let's see. Do you see my screen? You see it?
Yes, we do. Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Okay, don't you hope it's the right one, everybody? So I'm like a Bituach Leumi junkie. I love figuring out certain things about Bituach Leumi. Unfortunately, Bituach Leumi is a big part culturally of living in Israel for Israelis and anyone else alike. Israelis have a difficult time with Bituach Leumi. Israelis get frustrated with the process of Bituach Leumi. Israelis get frustrated that they're asking for 1 million pieces of paper and you come to your assessment and they say, oh, but where's the other one? And you have to come back again. No one is out to get anyone. This is just for right now, the way Bituach Leumi works. I happen to know after a meeting this morning that there are certain reforms that are going to soon go into place, and that will be lovely for the entire Israeli population, because you are all now part of the entire Israeli population. I'm going back, I'm taking a step back. If you joined us last month when I gave the general Bituach Leumi presentation of why you pay, what you pay, how you pay, who pays, and so forth, that was a really full presentation. I'm going to take a step back before we talk about disability and pensions so that everyone can remember that benefits through Bituach Leumi are eligible for those who are residents of the country. Who is a resident, or what is residency? As you see here, in short, residency is determined by one having their center of life in Israel. It's not just about owning an apartment, but do you live in that apartment? Perhaps one member of your family travels for work, but the rest of the family has their center of life in Israel. And so although that person is traveling for work, the global picture of that family is seen as everyone has their center of life in Israel. This is crucial. There are many of you today who might travel, who might spend many months of the year abroad. There are still many people who make Aliyah keeping their snowbird status, that they have their home in Florida in the wintertime and their Israeli home from before Pesach until after the Chagim, and that's okay. But make sure that you are keeping your residency. Is there a number that you can affix to the term residency? The number that's given is 183 days a year. Again, globally, from your date of Aliyah. We once got an email, if I arrive on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock and leave on Wednesday at 3 o'clock, does that count as a day? This true email. The point is, where is your center of life? And you all work so hard to get here. And I hope that Israel really will be your center of life. Not because I work for Nefesh B'Nefesh, but because it's a great place to live. That doesn't mean that one shouldn't go and visit family and travel now that the skies are more open and enjoy life at its fullest. All Israeli citizens, by law, have an obligation to pay a healthcare contribution to Bituach Leumi. This healthcare contribution allows you to then be part of your HMO, of your Kupat Cholim. Your Kupat Cholim is known as a healthcare provider because they provide you with the healthcare. But it's Bituach Leumi that designates this particular benefit to all Israeli citizens, and that's why you were part of Bituach Leumi from the get-go. You were able, depending on your status, if you didn't have any previous Israeli status, you know that you were eligible for health care from the moment you got off the plane. And that's because, again, by law, everyone is part of the healthcare system. An Oleh Chadash with no previous Israeli status is going to begin to pay their healthcare contribution at the 6-month mark. If
you go back to the picture, we just have to say one quick word. The Ola in that picture, in the previous one, is on our screen, and we just want to give us we have to give a shout out. He wrote that, Colin. Thank you. Yay! Here, I said I'm sorry, I stopped you mid sentence, Miriam, but I just had to give that shout out because it's cool. Okay.
Colin, who came last March? I'm going to wait for the answer. March, April.
Colin Gold. You can unmute yourself, Colin, if you want to say something, but
it's okay.
Oh, he wrote July 2020.
Okay.
Colin Goldberg. Okay.
Well, thank you. And look, you're a star. How often do you get to look at a screen and say, hey, that's me? Okay, so going back, an Oleh Chadash has a 6-month benefit of not having to pay their healthcare contribution. Who doesn't have that benefit? Someone who has income. What is income? When you are working, if you begin working from your first day of Aliyah or any point in time during that 6 months, your healthcare contribution is going to be taken automatically from your paycheck. You don't have the benefit. It's already taken from your paycheck. And at any point in time when you work in Israel, the healthcare contribution is one of the line items where a not small amount of money is taken from your paycheck. There are those of you today who may be eligible for what's called Demei Kiyum. Demei Kiyum is an income support benefit through the Misrad HaKlita once your Sal Klita is over. Now, for me, I recognize all of these words, but I'm going to repeat again simply because some of these words are still foreign. The Misrad HaKlita is that office that affords you all of your rights and benefits as new olim. You were given a Sal Klita, a basket of money, you had your first payment at the airport, or if you made Aliyah from within Israel after you went to the Misrad HaKlita, assuming you were eligible for it. That lasted or will be lasting 6 months' time. Once that's over, it is either, once it's over, if you are over the age of retirement, we'll discuss what that is in a moment. If you are over the age of retirement, you are not eligible for Demei Kiyum. If you are a student in university or learning in Kollel, you are not eligible for Demei Kiyum. If you are learning in Ulpan and under the age of retirement, you may be eligible for Demei Kiyum. If you are eligible for Demei Kiyum, you do not have to pay your healthcare contribution until the 1-year mark. Your healthcare contribution is a fixed amount at 106 shekel monthly if you don't have income. When I talk about pensions, I want you to remember these words, that it's 106 shekel if you don't have income. The national insurance is a different segment of payment to the Bituach Leumi. You can all read along while I talk. I'm not going to read out the screen. But the national insurance payment, the national insurance contribution, is what covers an insured individual for the social programs of the country, be it unemployment, be it disability, be it different things having to do with maternity and child rearing, a lot of different benefits that the Bituach Leumi has to offer. Now, if you've never looked at the Bituach Leumi website over a good cup of coffee, I encourage you to do so. It's in English, it's translated well, just to begin to familiarize yourself with the benefits. There is nothing worse than being told, didn't you know? Because that makes us feel small. And there's nothing worse to find out that you missed out on whatever it is that you could have received, which may or may not be retroactive. So have a look. The national insurance contribution is something that you are responsible for after your 1 year if you are not working. If you are working, it's taken from your paycheck. It is based on population and what you are doing. For example, from the age of 18 to retirement age, you are responsible for paying national insurance. Over the age of retirement, you are not responsible for paying national insurance. If you are a student, you will pay 130 shekel a month from your 1 year mark on. If you are unemployed, you will pay 178 shekel, I believe it is, a month if you are unemployed. If you are a housewife under the age of retirement, then you do not pay. Your husband is considered the insured person and he pays for you, he covers you. If you as a woman are working and under the age of retirement and your husband is not working, you cannot cover him. What is the age of retirement? The age of retirement was recently changed. And it was changed right after I did the previous presentation. The age of retirement for a man, in order to be eligible for, sorry, I want to think of the clearest way to say this. The age of retirement for a man is 67. However, a man who arrives at the age of 62 and over is not going to be eligible for any special pensions, any Israeli pension. He will be responsible for paying national insurance from that age of 62 to 67, but at a very small amount. He's going to pay for those insurances that are appropriate for him given his age. So from 62 to 67, a person may pay 50 shekel, 60 shekel, which is going to be an insurance coverage, an insurance policy, so to speak, for those benefits that he's eligible for from Bituach Leumi, for example, unemployment, if he is so inclined. It doesn't matter if you do or don't want to work, but you will be required to pay this national insurance until the age of 67. A woman who arrives under the age of 62, will be required, even if her husband is not, will be required to pay both the national insurance and the healthcare contribution sections of the Bituach Leumi. She is not considered a housewife if her husband is over the age of 62. She's responsible for paying her own payment. When it comes to a retired couple, both couples are fully retired of retiree age. Each member is going to pay the healthcare contribution on their own. It's not one per couple, but rather each person. The age of retirement for a woman was recently changed. It depends on when you were born, but if you were born from 1947 to 1959, the age of retirement is 62. From 1960 and above, all the way up to 1970, the range is from 62 and 4 months all the way up to 65. This has been many, many years in the making. Eventually, both men and women are meant to share the same age of retirement. All of this information is confusing. It's confusing to everyone and anyone. You can find it in writing on our website under the Bituach Leumi article. You can find it on the Bituach Leumi site, and you can always write to us for a personal recap. What is disability? Disability in Hebrew is nechut. There is under disability, there is general disability, there is mobility disability, there is mobility for a child up to the age of 18. What I would like to do is give you an overview of where to turn, how to access benefits, information that you need to know in order to apply for disability or mobility disability. I'll even throw in there, I think, a handicap tag as well. A lot of what I'm going to say is not necessarily on the screen. If I put too much information on the screen, you're going to read the screen and not listen to what I have to say. Everything about Bituach Leumi, when you apply for an allotment, when you apply for a pension, is going to be very individual. You may have a disability and your neighbor may have what is seemingly the same disability. You may receive a percentage of disability points that gives you access to a pension, to monies or services, and your neighbor may not. And it's not up to you to know why. So where does one begin when it comes to Bituach Leumi and disability? First and foremost, this site, Kol Zchut, has in English a tremendous amount of information on disability and accessing benefits. There is not a small percentage of the country that is disabled for a variety of reasons, whether it's a physical disability, a cognitive disability, a mental health disability. And if you know me, you know I'm very fond of saying we're all disabled in some way, shape, or form. But there are those who are eligible for real disability services. Did you know that in Israel, for a child up until the age of 10, they can apply for disability for an anaphylactic allergy? People aren't always aware of that. The Bituach Leumi website, which you have here as well, is a wonderful resource for some general information. What will I get? What services do I have eligible at my fingertips to use once I've had this assessment? When one has a disability, they have two government offices to turn to. They have Bituach Leumi, which is responsible for monies and different services, such as a vocational package, such as an allotment, such as discounts in certain places, discounts on utilities, a lot of different benefits. You also have what's called in Hebrew the Revacha, the social services department found in every municipality. The Revacha is responsible for, first and foremost, giving you a social worker who may be overworked, but giving you a social worker. And second of all, making sure that you are accessing and receiving your different benefits. Will your social worker speak English? He or she may not, be aware. But that is their job. Their job is also to help you fill out a form for general disability. When can a person, 1 second, I'm going to hold that. Sorry about that before I move on. Your medical team who you are already working with, if God forbid you are applying for disability because you've been in hospital, or you have, God forbid, cancer, or you have some sort of something that due to illness, you are prevented from working. You are prevented as a housewife from providing for your family's needs. Turn to your medical team. How can and how will they help you vis-a-vis Bituach Leumi? When you fill out a form for Bituach Leumi, any form, you're going to need paperwork that pretty much backs up everything that you're saying. It's not enough that you are requesting services based on a hearing impairment. They need paperwork, or whoever you are and whatever it is. Your medical team will play an important role because it is their paperwork that's going to give, in Hebrew, the word is gibui, to give some sort of backing to what you are applying for. The Bituach Leumi also has a service called Helping Hands in English. This is a free service in which they will help you also with the paperwork. They will help you in understanding what you need to fill out, how best to fill it out. And this, I've received both pro and con reviews for the Helping Hands team service. For those that it's been helpful for, it's been very, very helpful. People sometimes turn to a lawyer. I wouldn't say that that is the first place that you should turn. I think that there are many, many other organizations and services that you can turn to in order to get what you may need from Bituach Leumi when it comes to disability. This is what a form for disability looks like. It's called a Tvia Lekitsbat Nechut Klalit. This is for somebody over the age of 18. I just wanted you to see that it's form 7801 and that this is what it's called. The form is full. It's going to ask you a lot of different questions. Unless you are fluent in Hebrew, look for resources. There's resources throughout the country, whether you turn to family, whether you turn to us, whether you turn to a private healthcare advisor, whether you turn to an organization called Chaim V'Chesed, whether you turn to a lawyer, which is going to cost you money. I don't know that that's how you should go about things, just to fill out the form. Turning to a social worker. But turn to so that you know that you have done everything to the utmost. When can you apply for general disability? If you are an adult and you are dependent on another for your daily living needs, or it is unsafe for you to be left alone, you can apply after 3 months' time in the country at your 90-day mark. Today, if you are independent, if you can dress yourself and bathe yourself and feed yourself, and you can be left alone, then you can apply for general disability at the 9 months, 10 months. After a year, you will be able to receive your general allotment. Why can't you apply for it beforehand? Because right now there's no separation between the services from Misvad HaKlita and the services from Bituach Leumi. Misvad HaKlita says, so sorry, we're responsible for this Oleh and any of his monies in his first year of Aliyah. I'm hoping that this will change. That's my inside voice sharing with you, but it's not happening yet. But I do hope in the future that it really will change, that all individuals will have an opportunity to apply for general disability earlier. I have to wait and see what will happen. I mentioned about getting a handicap tag. There's an Olah, I don't know if she's here or not. There's an Olah who has a particular disability, and because of that disability, she only has one lung. And she got her parking card, her handicap card, and it was only good for 1 year. Now this Olah who's here on her own, we really remember to pack her sense of humor when she made Aliyah. And she wrote to me, she said, did they think my lung was going to grow back and that it's only for a year? It really made me laugh out loud. But a first-time card may be given only for a year, with the second card being given for longer. And yes, they may reassess your condition every few years. To apply for the parking card, for the handicap card, this is not an international card. If you've brought yours with you from wherever you've come from, do not hang it in your car. You may get a ticket. But you can apply. There's no time that you need to wait. And you don't need eligibility or recognition from the Bituach Leumi in order to do so. But you do need very strong medical backing to affix to the application so that they understand medically why you are applying for this handicap card, regardless of somebody's age. A handicap card can be registered to up to 2 cars because it's affixed to a car registration. You can't take it wherever you go and just hang it in somebody's car. So whether it's your car and a neighbor, your car and a child, your car and somebody else, that's fine. That is how to apply. You can find the information on our website. We are very happy to help you fill it out if you'd like, or one of our volunteers, again, so that you don't feel that you're alone with all of this paperwork. When one applies for disability, you are then assessed and you are given a percentage for your disability. You need a minimum of 40% medical disability for most of the services. Don't be surprised if you might be given 39%, and that's very frustrating, and you can appeal, and people appeal all the time. Because as I said in the beginning, while I'm a Bituach Leumi junkie, it's also sort of like the bane of our culture because they're responsible for almost every aspect of the socialized system that Israel functions on. 40% gives a person a what's called sal shikum. This is a vocational basket, whether it's for learning a trade, whether it's for being placed in a vocational program. It might be what's called in the open market, that young man or woman who you might see shelving stock in the supermarket or somewhere, or the person who is significantly lower functioning, who needs to have somebody, what's called more the closed market, that they have a counselor or somebody standing right there with them as they move the pencil from the right to the left. But regardless, having some sort of purpose to your day is important for everyone. It doesn't matter how high or low the individual's functioning is, and there are programs for everyone. Is it easy to get into a program? It takes time. For all Israelis, it has nothing to do with being an Oleh Chadash, but as being an Oleh Chadash puts us all as a disadvantage for feeling that we're in the know. And therefore, it's important to turn to organizations to find out who can help with what. The Bituach Leumi medical disability affords you all types of different benefits, whether it's a discount if that person is living in the home with you on your Arnona, for example. You might, if you are a parent of an adult child and that adult child is living with you, you will not only will he or she get a disability card, but you will also get something as a milava, as a milaveh, as somebody who's accompanying that disabled person. It's a whole world, and now is not the time to go into the whole world. Again, my point was to be able to give you some sort of taste, some sort of a place in order to get started. This is the form for a child. For a child up to the age of 18, form 7821. And again, for children, they can submit the claim much sooner because they are in fact children. If your child is any kind of Mossad, any kind of program for special needs, turn to the social worker to guide you and to help you fill out this form. He or she can play a major role for you. Okay. Tzipi or Yitz, can you tell me, are there any very specific questions on what I just spoke about?
There are some.
Can you want to just share one or two? Let's see. Okay, this is very important. And thank you to the person who just wrote about an elderly person, because I wasn't clear enough when it came to disability and retirement age and mobility disability. I forgot to talk about. Mobility disability is for someone who has a mobility disability and wants to apply for a kalnoit, which is, like that golf cart kind of a thing, or they want to apply for assistance in purchasing a car, whether it's for themselves or a child who's disabled, God forbid, or for hatamot, for adaptations to a car due to a disability. The mobility disability is eligible up to the age of 67, regardless if you are a man or a woman. General disability is only up to the age of retirement. That means it is 67 for a man, and depending on your birth date for a woman, somewhere between 62 and 65. Medical disability for someone who is older, someone who might have Parkinson's, or somebody who might have cancer at a later stage, God forbid. There is no medical disability. However, there is something called Chok Siyud. Remember, I spoke about the elder care benefit. The elder care benefit, it can also be a cash benefit. It's not only a caregiver. As I mentioned earlier, on the website, on the Bituach Leumi website, they list different levels of services and who is eligible for those services, and that might be something that you will want to look into if you are looking for extra funding to manage a medical disability for someone who is older. By the way, there are other benefits available depending on one's chronic illness. This is something for you to find out through your Kupat Cholim. God forbid somebody's a cancer patient, a dialysis patient, a diabetes patient, a cardiac patient. Somebody with a chronic care need has different benefits. God forbid somebody who's going through chemo or radiation has particularly broader benefits. Somebody asked, I'll just throw this in, is Salkli taxable income for US tax purposes? No, it is considered a gift. Okay, I'm going to skip the question about income support for the unemployed for a second. Anything else? I see there's a lot of questions here. Anything else?
Miriam, somebody wrote this again specifically to me a question about the parking tag for mobility issues. For an issue that wasn't one that you listed, I would say if you have a specific question, I'm just going to remind you, give us a call, and we can hear your specific question. And if we don't know the answer, we will always say we'll look into it, get back to you. And if you already said it, Miriam, I apologize. I'm going to be putting up the link. We have a very good article. I'm just going to give a pitch for our website again. I think all of you probably know, but there's a lot of information on the Nefesh Nefesh website that is always a really good starting point, including about getting the handicap parking card. So I'm going to put that link up in a minute as soon as I find it. Okay.
Okay, great, excellent. Somebody asked if a man is over 67 and a woman is over 62, do they just pay 106 shekel for the basic Bituach Leumi medical services? The answer is yes. You would pay a total of 212 shekel a month for each of you. Kilo combined, sorry, 106 for each of you. Okay, would somebody else ask a question here about Bituach Leumi? he was 60 and received correspondence between about paying for health insurance starting for the month of February. Okay, if somebody doesn't hear from Bituach Leumi, this is a great pitch for why it's so important to open up a personal account page with Bituach Leumi. The Bituach Leumi allows you, once you have a personal account page, to talk, to chat in email form with a representative from the Bituach Leumi, even in English. They might Google Translate their answer back to you. But nonetheless, you can feel free and independent to type in English. To register for a personal page on the Bituach Leumi website, it's all in Hebrew. You can find a line-by-line translation on our website, or again, call us for a volunteer, call one of us. We are very, very happy to help you. Somebody asked if they are considered a resident if they spend 4 months in Israel. The answer is no. It's a minimum of 183 days of 6 months a year. There's 106 shekel for Bituach Leumi, which is only the healthcare piece. It is not the national contribution piece. If over retirement age and you are working remotely. If you are working remotely, you must speak to either remotely or you travel. You must speak to an accountant on how best to manage your national Bituach Leumi contribution, not your healthcare, but your national contribution, because yes, you are responsible for paying. What do you pay for? This was discussed in the previous one. What do you pay for Bituach Leumi? From birth till death. If we talk about those of you who might be more from middle age to 120, you might be paying for the ability to apply for unemployment. You might be paying for disability depending on your age. You might be paying for chok siyud, ability, you're as an insured person. You might be paying for your free burial in Israel, in your city cemetery, so that if you're living in Jerusalem and you want to live in Har Menuchot, it will not cost you $25,000. You can be buried there as a resident of the city. Okay, I would like
Miriam,
to...
do you see the question? Sorry. Can you get any income if you're taking care of a parent who is CUD? I'm assuming you mean any stipends.
Can you get a stipend if...
As the caregiver?
Yes, if you go to the Bituach Leumi website, that was a recent change. It didn't used to be. I believe, I'm telling it to you from my memory, I believe that to be so. I believe that was changed. If you have trouble finding it on the Bituach Leumi website, just write to us at Answers. You could say, you know, hi Miriam, and then it'll come to me. We work as a team. And so if you've ever written to us, you might have received an answer from myself, from Tzipi, from Yitz, from Ariella, from Liz, from all of us on our team, because we really work strongly as a team. Okay, this is a lot of information. And the truth is that disability and pensions within themselves are two very big topics. And therefore, again, I invite you, and we all invite you, to write to us for your personal situations or your personal questions, or if you just want to review, if you understood something correctly.
Can I just want to clarify one thing, sorry, but as per question here, the 180, however many days it is, I'm not good at that, 87?
83, 183.
Okay, has to do with residency, has nothing to do with citizenship. You don't lose your citizenship because you weren't here for 187 days, okay?
183.
I'm reading what she wrote. Thank you.
That's okay.
183 days. Residency, again, is Bituach Leumi, is healthcare. Citizenship is having your Israeli passport and live, you know, and being a citizen of Israel. It's not the same thing. You don't lose your citizenship by not being here 183 days. You might have a problem or would have a problem with your residency. They're two different things.
Excellent. Okay. Who is eligible for an Israeli pension? So there were lots of questions in the very beginning. I got something from Bituach Leumi. I'm not sure what it is. Should I fill it out? There were questions about I got something for a pension, I get a foreign pension, am I eligible? There were questions about, oh, I filled it out already, is that a problem? Are there consequences in filling out this, this pension application? For those of you who made Aliyah, for men who made Aliyah at 62 and beyond, and for women who made Aliyah from the age of retirement, you may be eligible for something that's called Kitzbat Zikna Miyuchedet. A kitzbah is an allotment, Zikna is age or aging, and Miyuchedet is special. This is a special welfare-based pension. Why do I stress the word welfare? That's because in order to be eligible for this particular pension, you must share your income. There's an income test, and it is based on your foreign passive income. It's important to answer what is being asked of you. So when it says, do you have a foreign pension? Yes, you do, if you get Social Security. I realize that some of you may not yet be collecting Social Security, or one of you may and one of you may not. And if you are married, they will look at you as a couple. So you may be collecting Social Security, and for whatever reason, in a spousal situation, one of you may have a very low amount. One of you might have an amount that offsets what the ceiling for eligibility is. You are looked at as a couple. What is the consequence of filling out this form that may be automatically sent to you? Now it's sent to you and it looks very official. It has your name filled in and your birth date and your mispar zehut, your ID number and information. And you're like, well, this is for me and it's from a government office, so I better fill it out. The consequence, remember I spoke to you about my friend Joe, the consequence is that now you have shared with Bituach Leumi that you have income. If you had shared that you had income, and we're going to get soon because everybody's like plotzing, oh my gosh, but what is that ceiling income, Miriam? Just hold on another minute. If you were not eligible because your income was beyond the ceiling, then you have income. And Bituach Leumi, just like the person who's working, says, well, Joe has income. He no longer is eligible to pay for his health care contribution because he was in his mid-80s. He was over the age of retirement at 106 shekel. Rather, he's going to be charged at a different rate because he has income. Now, the rate does not get sky high. The rate, if you are over the age of retirement, will go, I believe it's from 106 for someone who has no income, all the way up to, I believe it's 220 or 240 shekel a month. As my contact at Bituach Leumi is fond of saying, even the president of Israel pays a healthcare contribution. When you are eligible for an allotment of money, such as disability, any other funds that you are required to pay to Bituach Leumi are adjusted from the monies that you receive. So who's eligible for this pension? Somebody who meets, where are we moving ahead? Somebody who meets the requirement, the monetary requirement. Now, this is from something that was received at the beginning of January. It has since changed. I will share with you that not only did it change, but somebody shared with me today their copy that they received, and the amount is much different. And I sent it to my contact to clarify that it wasn't a mistake, because yes, computers really do make mistakes. When you get this form in the mail for Kitzba Zikna Miyuchedet, it comes with a cover page. And this is the piece that I've cut out here. The cover page has a lot of words in Hebrew on it, a lot of words. And some people will just sort of go, you know, like this, and let me get to the form. It's a lot of words. I don't really know what it says, and let me just fill out the form. But that cover page has the schumim, the amount for eligibility. So what is the eligibility, as I was told today until I got that other email from our contact who is responsible for designated who is and who isn't eligible for this pension, is if you have no income from work, from employment, and you are a single person, that ceiling amount is, what did I just say? If you do or don't have work, Sippy, what did I just say? If you do have work, if you are employed and you are single and you have income, that income amount cannot exceed 6,749 shekel monthly. That could be money in Israel, that could be money from abroad. If you are married, if you are a couple, that ceiling amount is 9,000 shekel if you have your gross income from employment. This is very different than what somebody sent me today. I don't know if that someone is on today's webinar, but I'm checking that out because I don't believe that it is true. If you are not working and you have your income from Social Security or from some sort of state pension, if you are a single, that income cannot exceed 3,799 shekel. This may not sound like a lot of money, which it isn't. If you think about it, it's very hard to live on less than 4,000 shekel a month, which is why I said it's a welfare-based pension. But I will tell you that it used to be significantly lower until very, very recently. If you are a married couple, then you may be eligible if your income does not exceed 6,002 shekel. Okay, again, age of retirement is important here. If you are not working and you are a single person, you don't exceed 3,799 shekel in your Social Security, you may be eligible. If you are married and you do not exceed 6,002 shekel, you may be eligible. What is the consequence of filling out? As I said before about my friend Joe, he then had a higher rate to pay for his healthcare contribution. Now here I'm looking at my page. I didn't realize that I had put it, that I had added it. This is what the form looks like. It's called Tvia Legimlat Ezrach Vatik Miyuchedet. Please speak with us just to discuss if you should or shouldn't fill it out. Do understand the consequences. Make sure that you're eligible. How to collect the required documentation, because if you say that you get $500 in Social Security, they want proof. They're going to want to see that Social Security end of year statement. Now, I'll just throw in here, because some of you may be thinking, well, you know, I'm a senior citizen and I might not be eligible for this pension, but what else can I be eligible for? You might be eligible for a discount in your Arnona, even if you are not eligible for a pension. If you are eligible for a pension, automatically you will receive a 25% discount on your Arnona. If you are not eligible and you meet the requirements there, the means test there, then you would be entitled to a 30% discount. That means test is significantly higher than this means test. That means test for a single, I can tell you in Jerusalem, is in and around the 11,000 shekel a month range, and in and around 17,000 shekel for a couple. It varies from city to city. If you have applied for Chok Siyud, if you have applied for the elder care insurance policy from Bituach Leumi, you've now shared your income. You may end up losing your benefit of not paying Bituach Leumi healthcare contribution in your first year, in your first 6 months, because you shared that you had income, which allowed you then to get the benefit from Bituach Leumi. This has been a lot of information in a short amount of time. I can't stress enough that it can be confusing, it can be overwhelming, it can just feel like one big jumbo. I'm going to just sum up with a couple of things. Bituach Leumi is the agency in Israel responsible for all of the social forums that we have. It is also responsible for providing all Israeli citizens with healthcare, with the ability to be part of the healthcare system. On that note, then, all citizens are required to pay a healthcare contribution. How and when and how much you pay will depend on who you are. All olim, if they're not working, are required to pay or understand how they will be required to pay in and around the 6-month mark. Olim who are under the age of retirement will be required to additionally pay a national contribution once they hit their 12-month mark, once they hit their 1-year anniversary. A housewife can only be considered a housewife if her husband is arrived under the age of 62. There is a disability pension that is also limited by age. General disability is only up till the age of retirement. Mobility disability is up to the age of 67 for both men and women. Regardless of age, one can always apply for a handicap tag for your car, for a parking card for your car. It's important to have your medical documentation to corroborate why you are applying for this handicap card. If you are, God forbid, in a situation that you are over the age of retirement and you want to, and you need medical disability, that is what Chok Siyud is for. That is what the elder care law is for. And I encourage you to look at the Bituach Leumi website in English, where you will find a lot of information, or turn to us one-on-one so you can learn more. Turn to the Kol Zchut website. They are a wonderful website with many of that information available to you in English. Turn to other organizations in the country. I mentioned Chaim V'Chesed. There's the Shira Pransky Project. There are private advisors, private consultants that you can turn to who deal with healthcare. We spoke about pensions and who is eligible for a special pension. Those eligible for a special pension are those who arrived at a certain age and who meet a means test. You are looked at as either an individual or a couple. And that is how the means test is balanced. If you are living in Israel, regardless of your age, and you're working abroad or you're working remotely from within Israel, do speak to an accountant so that you can understand how best to manage your Bituach Leumi obligations. And with that, I am going to go to the screen here to see what questions there are. Just to confirm that's correct. Anybody who's retired does not have to pay national contribution, only the healthcare contribution. Today's event was recorded, and I can't share enough that we are all very happy to speak to you additionally one-on-one to answer your personal questions or to just review with you everything that was shared. Anything else? Last questions. All right then. What popped in here? The 10-year tax break. The 10-year tax break has to do with the tax authority, but not with Bituach Leumi, which is why you are going to speak to your accountant to understand best how to pay your Bituach Leumi.
Your tax.
Your Bituach Leumi. The 10-year tax holiday is from the tax authority, which has nothing to do with your national contribution to Bituach Leumi. It is separate, which is why you must speak to an accountant.
Thank you.
All right then. Another question here. Okay, great.
Thank you, all of you for joining. Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you, Tippi. Thank you, Yitz. And on behalf of everyone, we look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.
Thank you.